This newscast is brought to you by Qberg, Pittsburgh's source for LGBTQ plus news and community information. To learn more about Qberg, visit their website at qberg.com. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are covering at this hour. The Department of Veterans Affairs is planning a reorganization that includes cutting over 80,000 jobs from the sprawling agency that provides health care for retired military members, according to an internal memo obtained Wednesday by the Associated Press. The VA's Chief of Staff, Christopher Cyrick, told top-level officials at the agency Tuesday that it had an objective to cut enough employees to return to 2019 staffing levels of just under 400,000. That would require terminating tens of thousands of employees after the VA expanded during the Biden administration, as well as to cover veterans impacted by burn pits under the 2022 PACT Act. The memo instructs top-level staff to prepare for an agency-wide reorganization in August to resize and tailor the workforce to the mission and revised structure. It also calls for agency officials to work with the White House's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to move out aggressively while taking a pragmatic and disciplined approach to the Trump administration's goals. Government Executive first reported on the internal memo. Veterans have already been speaking out against the cuts at the VA that so far had included a few thousand employees and hundreds of contracts. More than 25% of the VA's workforce is comprised of veterans. The plans underway at the VA showed how the Trump administration's DOGE initiative, led by billionaire Elon Musk, is not holding back on an all-out effort to slash federal agencies, even for those that have traditionally enjoyed bipartisan support. Michael Missel, who was the VA's Inspector General for 9 years until he was fired last month as part of Trump's sweeping dismissal of independent oversight officials at government agencies, told the Associated Press that the VA is already suffering from a lack of expertise as top-level officials either leave or are shuffled around under the president's plans. Canada is going to keep the tariffs unless Donald Trump rescinds all U.S. tariffs against our northern neighbor. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is unwilling to lift Canada's retaliatory tariffs on the United States if President Donald Trump leaves any of the tariffs on Canada, a senior government official told the AP on Wednesday. The official confirmed Trudeau's stance on the condition of anonymity because the person was not authorized to speak publicly on the matter. The official said Trump and Trudeau spoke by phone around midday. Other Canadian officials publicly echoed Trudeau's position. We're not interested in meeting in the middle and having some reduced tariff. Canada wants the tariffs removed, Canadian Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc told the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, the leader of Canada's most populous province, agreed. Zero tariffs or nothing. This attack was not started by our country. This was started by President Trump. He decided to declare an economic war against our country and our province, and we are going to hold strong, Ford said. Trump launched a new trade war Tuesday by imposing tariffs against Washington's three biggest trading partners, drawing immediate retaliation from Mexico, Canada, and China, and sending financial markets into a tailspin. Trump put 25% taxes or tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports, though he limited the levy to 10% on Canadian energy. Has Disney had its coming to Jesus moment? Disney Pixar has introduced its first explicitly Christian character in almost 20 years in the same animated series from which it recently axed a trans storyline. Many are interpreting the move as a not-so-subtle indication of Disney's priorities. Taken in conjunction with the company's recent announcement that it is rolling back its DEI programs, it seems clear the corporation, which has been the subject of right-wing ire since it spoke out against Florida's Don't Say Gay law, is bending to conservative will. The series in question, Win or Lose, is about the members of a middle school softball team. The 14-year-old character that would have identified as trans has remained in the show, but the lines of dialogue referencing gender identity have been removed. The trans actress voicing the character said she was very disheartened to find out the trans storyline was cut. When it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timeline, a Disney spokesman said at the time. Apparently, that does not extend to Christianity. The opening episode now introduces Lori, whose first lines depict her praying to the Heavenly Father. Her introduction comes as Donald Trump and the Republican Party continue to terrorize the trans community and use Christianity as its justification, all the while claiming that Christians are being persecuted by diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts when no one cares, Donald, especially about you and your idiotic platforms. LGBTQ Nation has reached out to Disney for comment on its introduction of Lori. This is not the only trans storyline that Disney has erased recently. In November, it shelved an episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur that focused on a trans classmate who receives support from her teammates after her coach removes her from a girls' volleyball team. A Disney spokesperson claimed in this case the decision was based on this specific episode, not because of the character being trans, adding that the episode wasn't banned, but rather was being held. Whatever that difference means. Disney has also taken many steps to champion LGBTQ plus people over the past several decades. The company began offering health coverage to the domestic partners of LGBTQ plus employees in 1996, and its Disney World theme park has hosted the unofficial annual Gay Days event in which LGBTQ plus fans visit in red t-shirts. Of course, they're going to throw a festival to encourage people to come to the park and spend money. It's all about the money and the commercialism, not about actually joining in to the motivation behind Pride. At any rate, that's the news at this hour. If you're watching our news videos on YouTube, please click the subscribe button. Be sure to download the Live 365 app to take PEP Radio with you wherever you go. Now, back to more music on PEP Radio.